So Record Store Day is once again upon us, this time April 23rd, 2022. There's going to be a secondary day, and I'll explain that a little bit later. In this video, I'm going to go through my top metal vinyl picks. I'm also going to go through what I think will look good for genre fans on both the US and the UK lists. So definitely stick around. So for those of you not in the know, Record Store Day is a twice-a-year event. It's been going on since 2007. Happens at participating record stores, and basically what happens is that on these days, the record labels release special records. Some of them are exclusive, some of them are first releases. I'll go into that a little bit later. Basically, you can count on special editions, picture discs, never before available material, that sort of thing. It's kind of cool. So as I mentioned, the main drop date is April 23rd, 2022, though there is this secondary date of sorts, such being June 18th. The reason they're doing this is basically supply chain issues. What they're trying to do is get everything out for April 23rd, but some things might fall through the cracks because of those issues. So there's this secondary safety net day that they're going to throw those titles to if they can't make it for April 23rd. In fact, the Dio picture disc I'm going to talk about later is one of those June fall-throughs. So just keep that in mind. Of course, you should know that not every participating record store has every single RSD title in stock. Basically, each record store buys what they think they can sell, and some bands do well in some markets, some do well in other markets. So there's a little bit of a dice roll here sometimes, but most of the big titles should be there, and even some of the smaller ones. So there it is. So given that, here are the metal vinyl releases for Record Store Day 2022, both April and June. And what I'm going to do here this year is I'm going to list all of the albums I'm not going to buy, but you might, followed by my top 5 picks. And I'm doing it that way to give you a more well-rounded view of what's totally available for Record Store Day. Also, get ready for me to throw a bit of opinion in here, because some of the ones I'm not getting, I'm going to let you know why I didn't get them, or not going to get them, seeing as this is all past tense. So there it is, fair warning. Starting things off with April for the US and the UK, we've got Allison Chains with the We Die Young 12-inch EP. This is an RSD exclusive release, limited to 14,350 copies. This is a reissue of the 1990 promo-only 12-inch EP, or single if you prefer. 3 tracks in total, including an exclusive one. This has also been remastered from the original. I already have an OG of this EP I got back in college radio, so I don't need another one, let alone a new one, so there you go. Next up for the US, we have Charlie Benante with Moving Pictures, an RSD exclusive release, limited to 1,500 copies. This is a follow-up release to Benante's Quarantine album of cover tunes. Basically, he's doing cover tunes here as well, except they're Rush covers. Wasn't interested in that first covers album, and not really into Rush as much as other people are, at least at this point in time, so I'm going to be skipping this one as well. Next for the US, we have Black Label Society with Alcohol-Fueled Brutality Live. This is an RSD first release, limited to 2,600 copies. This was originally released in 2000, but this is the first time it's coming out on vinyl. 2 LP, 180 gram splatter vinyl with a download card. Not a Black Label Society fan, so I'm passing on this one. Next up for the US, we have Alice Cooper with Brutal Planet. This is an RSD first release, limited to 5,000 copies. So another reissue, basically, this time from the 2011 original album. 2 LP, 180 gram brown vinyl this time, pressed at 45 RPM. Never been the biggest Alice Cooper fan outside of some of his 70s releases, so this one simply isn't for me. Next for the US and the UK, we have Def Leppard with the High and Dry picture disc. RSD first release here, limited to 6,000 copies. This is basically the standard album on picture disc format and nothing else. I love this album a lot, and I have an OG vinyl of it, but I'm not really a picture disc fan at this point, so I don't really need it. Also for the US and the UK is Udo Dirk Schneider with My Way. This is an RSD first release, limited to 2,250 copies. So this is a really strange idea for release. The gist of it is that Udo put together an album of other bands covering still other bands that aren't UDO or Accept. So it's just songs that Udo likes. So his name doesn't even need to be on this in some ways. He does do one of the covers, however, namely We Will Rock You by Queen, which is pretty cringy, actually. This RSD version will come with an autographed photo, but that seems to be the only difference between this version and the version wide release coming out. Most of the bands on here don't interest me, and the artists being covered also don't interest me, so this record doesn't interest me, obviously. Also for the US and the UK is Gojira with Live at Brixton Academy. This is an RSD exclusive release limited to 3,500 copies. And that's pretty much all the RSD site says about this release, which is pretty piss-poor promotion if you ask me. My current interest in Gojira is cursory at best. Maybe that will change in the future, but for now I'm not motivated to pick this one up, let alone a live album from them. But again, maybe that'll change. Just not now. Next for the US, we have Judas Priest with Hero Hero. This is an RSD first release, limited to 4,700 copies. Basically, another straight reissue of a record whose OG copies are very easy to get. Unlike the Best of Judas Priest RSD release from last time, which had an exclusive interview, this reissue has nothing else but the record. So, you know what, since it's a first release, it'll be out there later in wide release anyways, so I'm basically not motivated to get this one. For the US and the UK, we have Opeth with My Arms, Your Hearse. This is an RSD first release, limited to 1,500 copies. This too is a reissue, this time on purple, white, and black swirl vinyl. Does come with 2 bonus tracks, cover songs to be precise. Not really an Opeth fan. If you are and you don't have this album, you can get this edition or wait until it's in wide release, since this too isn't an exclusive. For the UK, there's Pretty Reckless with Going to Hell. This is a picture disc, again. No release status, no release numbers. Again, great promotion there, folks. Not my genre, to be honest, despite the attractive cover image. I don't know. I know this band has its fans, so check it out if you're interested. Again, a picture disc. I'm sick of picture discs. RSD is loaded with them at this point. And I know some of you are sick of them as well. Let me know in the comments if you are. If you are interested in this album, there was already a vinyl pressing of it in 2021, and copies might still be out there. As for me, I'm going to pass. Next for the US and the UK, we'll have Sepultura with Revolu Songs. This is an RSD exclusive release, limited to 2,250 copies. So 3 strikes against this one for me. 1, it's a cover tunes album. 2, it's a picture disc. And 3, it's modern Sepultura. But even if I were into this band at this point, I'm still not chomping at the bit to hear cover tunes from U2, Devo, or Massive Attack, particularly from Sepultura. So yeah, hard pass. Next for the US, we have Jeff Tate with Kings and Thieves. This is an RSD first release, limited to 1,000 copies. And yes, another reissue. Though now the album is released on vinyl for the first time. The album originally came out in 2012. I heard this album a while back and wasn't really a big fan of it. Truth be known, I've enjoyed modern Queensryche with Todd La Torre on vocals a lot more than Jeff's solo stuff. So yeah, likely not getting this one. Next up for the US is Voivod with Angel Rat. This is an RSD first release, limited to 4,500 copies. And if you haven't heard me say it enough, yes, this is another reissue, this time of their 1991 album. Comes in deep purple with lime monster green swirl vinyl, if that's exciting for you. This is where the band loses me for a while. I am going to mention another Voivod reissue later in this video that I have a little bit more of a favorable opinion of, so stick around for that. As for this album, I just really haven't connected with it in the past, so I might pass on it for now. I have been exploring the Voivod catalog quite a bit lately, so that could change. But again, this will be available in wide release, so I don't feel like I need to chase it right now. 4,500 copies is also plenty of copies out there, so yeah, not really chasing after this one right now. Next for the US and the UK, we have Warrior Soul with Odds and Ends. This is an RSD limited run / regional focus release, limited to 500 copies. So this is a collection of never been on vinyl outtakes from the band. I think it's ideal for the fans of this band who've been with them the entire time, as opposed to me, who liked the first 2 albums and really didn't follow them from then on. So yeah, I'm a fan of the earlier material, not of the later stuff, so it's likely I won't get this one. Next up for the US and the UK is Dio with Double Dose of Donnington. This is an RSD exclusive release, limited to 2,700 copies. And oh boy, another overpriced Dio picture disc with only a few tracks on it. At least the first 2 albums made it out in the format last RSD. I thought that was kind of interesting. I guess that's better than these giant singles at LP prices. Seriously, can't Wendy just dig into the vaults and give us something we don't have? I'm sure there's some cool outtakes, live tracks, demos, all that kind of stuff that most Dio fans, myself included, have never heard. I would say go with those instead, maybe. I mean, I see stacks of these Dio picture discs many months later, sometimes a couple of years later, at a whole bunch of record stores I go to, over and over again, which makes me think that the buying public is saying the same thing I am. So yeah, not likely to pay $28 or more for 3 songs on a crappy sounding picture disc. Sorry. So I am passing on quite a bit of what's on this list, though that's not entirely unusual for me. But this isn't all doom and gloom. I do have 5 picks of albums I'm probably going to get. Maybe going to get. We'll see. So here they are. First up for the US and the UK is the debut solo EP from Kirk Hammett. This is Portals. It is an RSD first release, limited to 6,500 copies. So Kirk Hammett, obviously lead guitar player from Metallica. Pretty curious about this release, like a lot of Metallica fans are, but I really want to see what this guy does outside of the band. Similar to the same curiosity I had when Jason Newsted went solo, though we all know that results on that were a little bit different. Come to think of it, it is interesting that Kirk got to do a solo album, and that the Metallica label put it out. But Jason Newsted tried to do the exact same thing, and he had to quit the band to make his. So that's kind of interesting. All of this really does make me want to hear Kirk's album even more. Plus, I do like his playing, and I do like some of the stuff he's inspired by. This is pressed on ocean blue vinyl and released through Metallica's own Blackened Recordings label, as I mentioned. There is a bio on this record that explains it to be influenced by classical music, soundtracks, horror movies, a little bit of Ennio Morricone. Yeah, that's totally up my alley, so yeah, getting this one. Next for the US is LA Guns with Waking the Dead. This is an RSD first release, limited to 4,000 copies. So this is a reissue of their 2002 album. This is also the album following the temporary departure of founding guitarist Tracy Guns, which may or may not influence your buying decision. I actually do like this era of the band quite a bit, though I do prefer releases with Tracy on them a bit more. Even still, I'd like to get this one and hoping to fill out my LA Guns vinyl collection in general, because some of these albums weren't really available on vinyl before, so kind of excited about that a little bit. Of course, if I don't get this one ultimately, it's not going to break my heart. There are other records in this list that are far more sought after, but yeah, I'd still like to get it. Next up for the US and the UK is Motorhead with The Lost Tapes Volume 2. This is an RSD exclusive release, limited to 2,250 copies. And of course, as people remember in a previous video, I totally called this one. I knew they were going to release a Volume 2 very specifically on this RSD. So there I am. I'm brilliant. Anyways, this was digitally available last year on Lemmy's birthday, but now it's appearing here for the first time on vinyl. It was recorded at UEA in Norwich in October of 1998. It's a 2 LP set, likely in black vinyl. Track listing is varied considerably from the Volume 1 release, which I already have and is pretty good. It does end with Overkill, which is perfect. It's one of my favorite Motorhead songs. I'm hoping Volume 3, if there is to be one, goes back to the classic era, maybe between Overkill and Iron Fist, because that would be cool. So to be a completist of the fact that I'm liking Motorhead a bit more these days than I did as a kid, I'm probably going to get this one. In fact, it's pretty much a given. Next up for the UK only is Paradise Lost with Gothic Live at Roadburn 2016. This is an RSD exclusive release, yet no release numbers because it's the UK site. This came out digitally on Bandcamp in 2021, but this is an exclusive vinyl release. It is the entire Gothic album recorded live. at the Roadburn Festival in 2016, as I said. Gothic, of course, is their classic second album from 1991. It's one of my very favorite Paradise Lost albums. It's going to be released on splatter vinyl and a gatefold jacket with a booklet of photos from the show. As I said, I friggin' love Gothic, and so to hear it live in its entirety is highly attractive to me. It's really the album that got me into Paradise Lost back in the early 90s, so yeah. Also, of course, I'm not in the UK. I'm an American, so I'll have to track this one down in the aftermarket, but that's not going to slow me down. I'll get it. Trust me. And for the US, we have Voivod with Nothing Face. This is an RSD first release, limited to 4,500 copies. Gotta say, this is one of my favorite Voivod albums of the classic era, and I've never had it on vinyl. Of course, at 4,500 copies, and it being available in wide release later, I could wait, but yeah, I don't want to wait. It's going to be released on pink and blue swirled vinyl. It is a straight reissue, but it's otherwise very costly to try to find an OG copy of this, so this is the more realistic route to go. So yeah, definitely do not want to miss this one. So admittedly, the overall selection here of metal titles isn't as bad as the last few years, but there's still a lot I wouldn't personally buy. I don't know, maybe that's just me. I don't think it's just me. You should let me know in the comments how you feel about RSD as a metal fan, because I know quite a few of you have some very strong opinions, some very negative opinions, and to be honest, I agree with a few of your points out there, because I've seen them. Of course, if I do end up picking up any of these titles, I will definitely be doing a Record Store Day vinyl haul special type video, wherever I choose to do it, so definitely keep an eye out for that. So again, Record Store Day will be on April 23rd, 2022, with a safety net date of June 18th. Of course, if you want much more information on Record Store Day than this video can possibly bring you, definitely log on the official website, recordstoreday.com. Of course, if you just stumbled upon this video looking for RSD stuff, just to let you know, my name is Matt. This is the Accusation Network, where each and every week I do videos on metal vinyl collecting. I also do them on classic and modern metal bands in general. If that's something you like, do hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and share my videos with some of your friends. And of course, as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.